Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the I Work in Sport live interview. This is the last one of this season, end of the year. We're finishing season 4 with a great guest that I'll introduce in a second. If this is your first time here, this is the show where we talk to accomplished sport business professionals who come here to share their knowledge, their experience, tips, and advice in order to help you succeed in your career. And if you're just meeting, my name is João Frigerio. I'm the founder of I Work in Sports, and I want to thank you for being here with us today. Is it the first time that you're joining us at this live interviews, or are you coming back? Let me know in the comments. It's great to know also where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, right, so leave a comment too. We check all of them. That's always great to know. And of course, if you're coming back, you know the show, so you can, leave that hit that like button for us. And if you're coming for the first time, don't hit the like button yet. Just do it if you stay longer and if you enjoy it. Very quickly about our work in sport. If you don't know it, it's a platform to help you accelerate your career in sport. If you want to work in sport, or if you already work in sport, we're here for you either way. Mostly we organize events that connect you with recruiters if you're looking for a job, or if you're looking for a program, an academic course, we connect you with that as well. We have events that connect candidates with those programs. In addition to YouTube or LinkedIn, where you may be watching this, we're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us as I Work in Sport everywhere. Now, let me introduce my guest today. It's a special one. Today, I have the pleasure to talk to one of the biggest names in sports and entertainment law in the world, the Brazilian Marcos Motta. So Marcos has been working in football since 1997 and has a truly inspiring career, not only to young lawyers out there, but to anyone who dreams about accomplishing big things in their professional lives. He founded his own law firm. He has provided legal advice on some of the largest commercial deals in global sports markets. He participated in the Brazilian government's working group to review one of the most consequential legislation ruling in sports in the country, the Pelé Law, and is often part of FIFA working groups, such as the one on TPO, or third-party ownership. Well, his CV is quite extensive. I'll ask him to give us a summary of that, but he's obviously very much known as well for being the legal advisor in several high-profile football transfers, football players transfers, including the biggest of them all, the biggest transfer ever, that was of Neymar from Barcelona to PSG. So as you can see, there's a lot to cover. So let me introduce, let me get Marcos to join me. Where is he? Right after. Marcos,
João,
nice,
my friend,
to have you here. Finally, we tried before for the last, but I didn't pay attention to the calendar. What was the last day of the transfer window? And then Corinthians signs William, and then we couldn't make it. But we're finally here. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Juan. Finally, we made it, huh? It's never too late. Thank you so much for the kind of invitation. It's a privilege for me to be here with you and your audience and guests today. Thank you so much, my friend.
No, thank you, Marcos. Let me just have a check here, sort of in the comments. Yes, we have someone here. I'll check on LinkedIn later, saying hi from Paris. Otelo James is in Dakar, Senegal. There is Luis Gustavo in Brazil. There is Alexandre Diaz saying hi from Portugal. Munawar in Pakistan. So this is one of the nicest things of doing this show is there's always people connecting from all over.
The beauty of technology and innovation that has an impact on our today's lives. Thank you so much, João, again.
Definitely. Marcos, so this is a show about career mostly, right? We're going to talk about a few legal things as well. But let's start with a summary about your career and how you started working in sports and from where you started until you are at the moment, please.
João, I think most of you or some of you know my background, my track record in sports. Actually, I didn't start my career as a lawyer, as a sports lawyer. There was actually no sports law when I started in 94. When I graduated, I entered into law school in 1990, and I graduated in 94. This was just before the U.S. World Cup, the FIFA World Cup in the U.S., and I was a tax lawyer, actually, until, I reached 27 years old. So that's why I always say that never too late to start in the business. It depends on what you want, what makes your heart beats faster. So I was a tax lawyer in Rio. I graduated here in Rio de Janeiro. Now, actually, I'm not in São Paulo, but in Rio de Janeiro, here in Brazil, and working a pretty good law firm in tax law until 27 years old, 2017, as far as I remember, right. And then one day, I used to wake up every day with alarm clock, very bored about what I was doing. And I decided to do something. I said, listen, it's time to me. I'm not happy in what I'm doing. I'm not a big fan of tax law. So it's time to do something. Otherwise, with 30 years old, I will have a burnout or a heart attack or something like this. So I have to do something with my life. I have to take control over my future, over my career. And then I decided to do a master's degree in the UK, in Warwick University. But in parallel, I was invited by a very close friend of mine, Goni Arruda. He's a senator in Brazil today. He's a deputy, actually, in Brazil today. And he was a former vice president for Flamengo Football Club in Brazil, the biggest club. Most of you know about it. One of the largest clubs in the world. And we were good friends. I said, Marcos, listen, I want like a football director to help me in the youth squads of Flamengo. Okay, not professional, youth squads. Again, gentlemen, this was in 1995. And then, okay, he was my friend. I say, fine, I'll join you. Thank you so much. And I thought could be very interesting to be a football director in Brazil. To have the tickets, the VIP, maybe go to Maracanã every Sunday to see Flamengo. Why not? And then I decided to join Flamengo.
And that was that was a paid role or that was a volunteer role?
No, absolutely amateur. I mean, no executive, just amateur invitation, friend of mine. Flamengo was not what it is nowadays in a professional point of view. It was more than 25 years ago. So, and I didn't realize that this was a turning point in my life because, working a youth squad in Flamengo in the 90s in the Brazilian football was a great lesson for me. That's where I learned about the basics of football, the roots of football. If you consider that the youth squads, most of the times in developed countries like in Brazil, in Africa, sometimes in Middle East, South Asia, Central America, there is no glamour. There's no press, no glamour, no supporters, no big stadiums, no fame, nothing, no lights, no interviews, absolutely nothing. It's just you, the player starting his career, you try to somehow helping them, trying to somehow help Flamengo, trying to somehow help in the Brazilian football. And it was a great moment in my life because, as I said, that where I learned the basics and the real roots of football that I'm still using in my everyday life now, let's say in the top of the pyramid of football. That's why I like pretty much. And I think that is very important to where you start, where you came from. in order to see where you want to go to. So then 95 till 97, 98, I was the football director of youth. Then I jumped into the professional. I was director of Romário. I was director of many big players like Adriano, you know, the Imperador, the striker, Júlio César, the goalkeeper. Many players that then became famous in the global scale. I was their director. So then 95 to 97 amateur, 97 to 99 professional squad, but still an amateur non-executive position in Flamengo. And then when I moved to England for my master's degree, Flamengo decided to appoint me as an international, let's say, representative of the club. Means nothing in that time. No, Flamengo was not global as it is today. Of course, they won the World Cups clubs in 81, but was not as it is today. Football was not as what is today in terms of broadcasting, expansion of, you know, the squads, the tournaments, a global industry, multi-billion industry as it is nowadays. So, and lucky me, in that year, 99, Flamengo, João, signed the first contract, the largest contract ever in terms of marketing in Latin America. Flamengo signed with ISL. For those young ones that don't recall what ISL is, ISL was the largest sports marketing company in the world. They used to hold the rights of the FIFA World Cup, ATP, the major sports events. And they decided to jump into South America. And for that, they signed Flamengo. That would be the vehicle, the business vehicle in terms of marketing opportunities in Brazil for the largest marketing company in the world. And lucky me, I was there, a couple of hours flying from in England. You know, ISL was based in Lausanne, in Switzerland, and they appoint me as the link between Flamengo and the ISL. And that was a second turn in my career. And when I realized that the football world was much, much bigger than what I was doing in Brazil in that time, okay? So I start to have a contact with the international aspect of the business, marketing, economics, geopolitics, content, broadcasting, commercial endorsements. And that was a fantastic, let's say, I realized that was a fantastic world and fantastic industry. And there was so much to be done in Brazil. So the very basic sports law that I was doing in Brazil in terms of disciplinary issues, red cards, you know, very basic sports law done by great sports lawyers in Brazil like Valédio Perri, Paulo Rogério Amoriti, Mário Alberto Pucheu. They were my masters. And then I said, okay, I'll go back to Brazil when I finished my master's. This was in 2000, 21 years ago. And João, the only thing that I did is to create a new product. I took the sports law that was being done in Brazil in that moment, and I put one word after it: international. So the sports law became Sports Law International, or International Sports Law. And then there was that has been 25 years of history in football that, you know, we can discuss here today.
I was muted, so sorry. That's when you founded your law firm.
Yeah, actually, when I returned to Brazil, I joined a big law firm. But again, I realized, you know, my sensitivity in terms of market positioning, in terms of product, what I was about to sell to the market, what is about to fill in terms of the gaps that the market presents in terms of the service, legal services. I joined a big law firm in Brazil. But after a very short period, I realized that this is not a business for big law firms. Despite the fact that you have great big law firms today doing the business in the world, but you have to note that most of the time, the sports law sector or seat is almost a separate, let's say, department of the law firm. because the dynamics of the sports law is different. The speed, the dynamics, the intelligence, the positioning, or you have total autonomy to do what you have to do in the pace that you have to do, in the speed that you have to do it, following the trends, the dynamic, the market, the trends, in all the movements of sports and entertainment, or you have the flexibility to adapt, or you will not succeed. Because sports law and entertainment law is different for all other sector or seat in a law firm. And then I decided to set my own firm, a small one. There was only me, Bichara, my partner nowadays, and another trainee. Now we are around 20, 25 lawyers truly involved in the sports and entertainment.
Right. Marcos, some months ago, I can't remember how many, but it was probably in the summer or just before that, the first semester, I was having lunch at FIFA, and then at the table, there was a guy that I presume you know well. I met a gentleman called Miguel Lietar, and he told me that you were in the first ever football case that was brought to CAS. So before that, I don't think the legal system for football was centralized as it is today. So CAS, at that time, I suppose some 20 years ago, I don't know, then suddenly started to take football cases, and you were the first one. Is that right?
Yeah, it's right. When I started in FIFA, the player status department was pretty small. Actually, it was Gianpaolo Montanari, my great friend Gianpaolo, the head of the department. Omar Ongaro, still in FIFA, was one of, let's say, the counsels. We had Edith Cleveno, I think she's still in FIFA, and then Kamaya and other professionals. But was a pretty small, let's say, community in terms of sports lawyers. There were not pretty much. There is a jargon in FIFA that they say, Marcos, at the end of the day, in that times, were always the usual suspects. I was one of the usual suspects in FIFA in terms of claims.
And that was a Flamengo case.
Yeah, actually was basically FIFA was in a sort of challenge of the system, because some let's say lawyers in terms of European community would say, okay, FIFA has jurisdiction to prescribe, FIFA has jurisdiction to decide, and FIFA has jurisdiction to enforce. We need like a neutral appeal body in which you can bring FIFA decisions. And FIFA decided, okay, let's establish the TAF. So, João, this recently announced FIFA Football Tribunal is not new. In 2001, there was the idea of the creation of an appeal body called the Football Tribunal. But then they realized that it would be too costly. And then FIFA realized that football, the largest sport in the world, was the only sports in a global scale that didn't have the CAS as the appeal body. Just 2 hours train from Zurich. And they say, okay, let's go to CAS, let's talk to these guys. And finally, FIFA announced that the CAS would be the appeal body of FIFA. And it was in March. We had a decision just in April, and suddenly you realize that could we appeal the decision. Was Felipe Loureiro, a Brazilian player playing Galatasaray, against Galatasaray. I was for Felipe, Jean-Louis Dupont was for Galatasaray. There was FIFA representative. The panel was Pinto, Margarita Echeverria, and Michele Bernasconi. This was the first CAS hearing ever in football disputes in early 2001, João.
What was the result?
We won.
Oh my God.
That was good. We won. CAS decided that the player had a just cause, indeed, to terminate his contract against Galatasaray, and the player should be compensated for the breach of contract by the club side. So have a look for those who are interested. This is the very first CAS award, 2001. I can't recall the reference, but Felipe Jorge Loureiro against Galatasaray, and FIFA.
This is a history of
It
legal
is.
matters, of sports legal
It
matters
is.
here.
20 years ago, João.
Marcos, just so you know, there's more people saying hi here. So Alex Alcantara from Peru.
Alex, como estás?
Ariel in Nigeria.
Fantastic. Welcome.
Otacílio in Barra Bonita in Brazil.
Fantastic. Abraço.
And Zandili in South Africa.
Amazing. Welcome all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and everybody can let us know where you're watching from, but also prepare your questions as well. There's some interesting stories here that I'm going to be asking.
That's a chat between friends, and we're all welcome.
Exactly. Marco, talking about that, I had the pleasure to see you not so long ago in Lisbon.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen you presenting several times. You presented at an event that I co-organized with good friend Pedro Trengraus on behalf of the FIFA Masters in Brazil at the World Cup and a few other times. But a few weeks ago, you gave a brilliant lecture, I'd say, about the current state of sports law, which is actually now, you're telling me, very difficult to separate from entertainment nowadays, right? So maybe you can summarize a few hot topics of that lesson. Where's that going? You know, what are the things that now not only lawyers, but any sports executive must pay attention to?
Listen, João, I think that is a very interesting topic. For those that are, watching us and listening to us, are just starting in the business or jump into the career or thinking of, start as a sports lawyer, I think that we have a very interesting decade to come. I call it the cycle 3 of our industry. The sports is changing pretty fast. Sports is no longer just a cultural and social, let's say, pillar. It's a multi-billion dollars business nowadays. And the possibilities that we have in sports when we see it, or when you try to merge or position the sports into the entertainment sector or industry, is absolutely game-changing, to use a common word. So if you position the market in the entertainment industry, all the possibilities, they open a wide range of possibilities for those that are start to work in the industry. Because nowadays, football, they do not compete any longer, for example, with NFL. Football does not compete any longer with NBA. Yes, in some sense they do. It does. But more than that, football nowadays compete with Netflix. At the same time that Netflix does not compete with HBO. Netflix competes with Fortnite, the esports. So that's a vision that I invite you, all of those that are listening to us and watching us, to have this different approach. Because this is about the survival and the growth curve of our industry. And we are the ones responsible for that vision, for that new vision that has had, as I call it, the cycle 3 of the industry. The cycle 1, João, was based, I think, before the Bosman case, right? When you have a completely different relationship, commercial relationship, employment relationship between clubs and players. Then you come after, I call it, let's say, 94, 95, after that, after the US World Cup in 94, with the advent of the emerging of the broadcasting, let's say, the broadening of the competitions, squad limits. If you take into consideration that in the 60s, a football squad had only 14 players. Now we have football squad with 60 players, right? Yeah. So in the second phase, which was like boomed by the internet, right? The internet Web 2 that I call the Web 2, where you have the funks, the Facebook, you have the Apple, you have the Google, you have the Amazon, all of those players based in the internet Web 2, in which you have a sort of synergy with internet, and the internet start to control the flux of information, data, and this has a direct impact in fan engagement. So this is phase 2, right? And now with the pandemic, you accelerate in 10 years this movement, João. Now we have the Web 3, right? What I call the cycle 3 of the industry, with the blockchain technology, and you have all the token economy coming in. This has an absolutely game-changing in terms of commercial relationships, the position of the players. As I said, players now are the new players. You have the ambassadors and influencers. Clubs take control over the fandom, fan engagement, the relation of the sponsor endorsements, and the clubs are completely different nowadays. So everything is changing. Yeah. And the beauty, João, of all this is not that this will happen in the near future. This is happening now. So we are the lucky ones to be here talking about this subject, thanks to the innovation, right? Live all over the world, streaming here, due to the innovation, due to the Web3, in which we control the content, we control the product. And this is a key word, João, the product. Remember when I talk about the international sports law in Brazil? That was a product created in the early 2000s. I had the vision to create a product that was fitting as a remedy to the demands and needs of the market. Now we have the Web3 with a lot of demands, with a new consumer market. So the way that the game has been produced, the way that the game has been played, the way that the game has been financed has changed. And we are all now responsible to adapt our industry to this new era, as I said, that I call the cycle 3 of the industry, João.
Yeah, it was very interesting when you showed 2 contracts, one of a few years ago, and the one that's 2 player contracts, right? Now, one was what? So very few pages, and now it was 60 pages or something.
Yeah, the first contract that I did in football was in 1999-2000 with the advent of ISL. I signed a contract with my friend Clemente Villaverde from Atlético de Madrid, a transfer player from Spain to Brazil, right? A defender Gamarra, national defender from Paraguay that was playing for Atlético de Madrid. And then we transferred him to Flamengo for $3 million. The contract had only 3 pages, João. The first page is the qualification, the second, the financial conditions, the third, the jurisdiction. Actually, it was the very first time that I saw FIFA as a jurisdiction to deal with a case. Only 3 pages, João. And now in the last registration period, that's the transfer period, in January, we signed a contract with a big Premier League club, one of the top clubs in the world. Only the image rights contract, differently from the 3 pages contract, only the image rights contract had 73 pages. So this is the challenges that you, young sports lawyer, or you that wants to jump into the market will face in today's market. It's a very, let's say, a sophisticated market that definitely demands professional, specialized in sportainment law, that I call is the merge between sports and entertainment. Because at the end of the day, what we are delivering is entertainment. Our competitors are entertainers. So this is the challenge of, as I said, today's industry.
Yeah, you also mentioned that it's not only about other players. You don't use, even from other sports like LeBron James's or whatever contracts as reference. You see Beyonce's, contracts, or Anita's, or and I think you work with her as well.
Yeah, I mean, I learn a lot with this other industry. Now our firm is 100% involved in the entertainment industry in general. So we have, of course, very well established sports sector, the pure nature, the roots of sports. But then we also do like audiovisual shows and media, digital technology. And the interesting fact is that we merge and we cross-sell the experience that I have in the digital technology retail I use in sports, and vice versa. So I was doing like a big endorsement for a retail company in Brazil in digital, and now I was using concepts that we use in the image rights contract of football players. And vice versa, I was using football players' contracts principles in terms of endorsements and commercial rights into showbiz, for example. So this vision, this broader vision, is very important for those that want to be well established in the market.
That's great. Marcão, you seem like you live a very exciting life. What's your normal day like?
Okay, we are short.
Or we should say normal day.
João, how I know you for more than 15 years, right? Or 15 years, the minimum.
Yeah,
right?
But not everybody knows you. I mean, the listeners, you're not telling me. I want you to tell people listening, watching.
Let's share our friendships here. Listen, I don't like nightlife. I'm very let's say I have a lot of energy.
You're an athlete.
Yes, I am. I'm a hyperactive person. I'm married with a marathonist. So I wake up very early every day, like 4:30. I always my team, and then Gustavo is here. Some of my teammates are here watching us, and they say, Marcos, sometimes I wake up at 5:30, 7 a.m. And when I turn on my mobile, there are like 7-8 messages from you, our European colleagues. Sometimes I was telling the other day, Lucas Ferrer, my dear friend, and he said, Marcos, listen, I just woke up. It's 9 a.m., 8 a.m. I just reached my office, and there are already 2 emails from you, and you are 5 hours behind. What time I wake up? I say, listen, I'm a morning person. I'm an early bird. So that's how I say, to make a long history short, João, if you want to beat me, call me after 7 p.m. If you want to lose, call me before 9 a.m. That's the golden rule, João. That's a good tip, huh?
Good. Marcão, there's already some questions right here. I'm going to get to those.
Sure.
But I want to know, what is it that you like the most about your job then?
Listen, it's nice when I was watching, last week I was in Saudi Arabia watching the finals of the AFC Champions League, and on Saturday there was a finals of Libertadores Cup. In one game, our client won in Saudi Arabia, and in CONMEBOL for the Libertadores, our client, let's say, lost the game. So the reaction of the fans, the TV, the passion, João, you can have the best business vehicle in the world. You can have the best law firm. You can have the best clients, but in the end of the day, it's about people, João. That's a key issue. You can't lose this feeling that, again, your firm, your business is only vehicles for your passion. Because at the end of the day, it's about your heartbeat. It's about people. It's about passion. And we can't lose this feeling, because this is the spirit of our industry. Everything goes around it. But the feeling, that's the feeling, that's the spirit. It's about people.
That's right. That's right. Marcos, let me get to some questions here already from the audience. Before, just acknowledge some other people saying hi. Regina in Brazil. Jesus Lorenzo here in Rennes, France. Shorty from Trinidad and Tobago. Who else is here?
I'm looking down because I'm watching here my screen as well, okay?
Okay, so Queen,
I have a camera here, and I have yeah.
So questions. The first one from Othello James. What a wonderful journey. I'd like to know your thoughts on the hosting of the World Cup every 2 years.
Whoa, hot topics around, João, as always, huh?
Do you want to spin also to a legal implication, if there are any, or just give an opinion?
Let's keep as a general view. Listen, I'm a big fan. I was giving a lecture the other day in the FIFA management with Mr. Arsène Wenger, and I know Mr. Arsène Wenger for so many years. I met him first time in 2001 when he was in Arsenal. He's one of the great brains in the industry, right? And he's defending pretty much the FIFA World Cup, in every 2 years. Calendar is an issue, right? I think that you have to strike the balance between the interests of the clubs, the interests of the players, and the interests of the governing bodies. World Cup is the golden egg for FIFA, is the ápice, as you said in Brazil, for football, is the most watched tournament in the world. Everybody loves it. But the issue here is not if you're going to do in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. It's to strike and balance the interests between all those involved. Sponsors, audience, product, the game, production, right holders, governing body, a players union. If you can balance all the interests, I see no problem. But it seems to me that we are still pending some common sense for all those pillars and stakeholders that I just mentioned.
Great, Marcos. Good answer. There is apparently a fan of yours asking a question here. So Alexandre Diaz, Marcos, so do you consider yourself, I suppose, a lawyer in the industry? Because I see you as one of the great business professionals in the industry of sportainment, so much bigger than, I suppose, just a great lawyer. How do you see it?
That's a great question, Alexandre. Boa tarde, meu amigo. Listen, that's a very interesting question, and here it goes. A piece of advice for you, young lawyer, or those that are still in the industry, my experience. When I started in the business, João, as I said before, in 95, and when I had the first contact with FIFA in 99, I met at FIFA end of 99. It was the first time that I was there in Zurich. It was not the FIFA house, and the headquarters was a small house.
It was a different building. I got to know that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's a small house in Sonnenberg. That was no FIFA, museum, whatever. And I have it here still. The first FIFA regulations on the status and transfer of players. One was only 12 pages. So now, only the commentary that my friend Emilio and his team announced in the broadcasting 2 weeks ago, I think was 110 pages of commentaries only for the FIFA RSTP. So the market has become pretty much, as I said, dynamic and complex, okay? In terms of regulations, in terms of geopolitical issues. So my piece of advice, when you see me talking about management, when you see me talking about sport economics, when you see me talking about Web3, blockchain, and tokenomics in the impact in sports, when you see me talking about the paradigm of broadcasting, I'm a lecturer in the La Liga Business School. I'm a lecturer in Real Madrid Escola Universitária. I'm a lecturer in the FIFA management. So my tip of advice is that you, lawyer, and we lawyers, we have to have skills beyond the rules and the regulations, okay? So minimum notions of macroeconomics, sociology, philosophy, everything matters nowadays. Because as I said, we do not live any longer in our bubble, okay? Mark Zuckerberg, he thinks that he invented when he announced the metaverse. He didn't invent nothing. We live in our metaverse for 25 years, for 30 years. Football metaverse, our own world, our own bubble. This has finished. The bubble has burst. Now we are, as I said, we are plugged in a much broader and complex environment and ecosystem that demands from Marcos Motta much more or differently that the market demanded in the early 2000s. So please have a broader view. Learn about other, be skilled in terms of what you can give to the market to help our industry to adapt to this fast-paced changes of the cycle tree of the industry.
Right. Good. But maybe just to continue on also Alexandre's question, and maybe to understand even better sort of your role. So if you take a transfer, whether from Willian or Thiago Silva or Neymar, from Barcelona to PSG. So where do you get in? Are you supporting then Neymar? Is that PSG? Do you participate at all in the negotiation? In that case, there wasn't one, right? You just went and paid the fee. But whenever there's a negotiation to a transfer, do you participate in that as well? Or someone else does that, and then you go and here I'm going to represent the player, I'm going to check the contract for him or for the club. Where do you sit? How does that work?
That's a great question, João. Listen, you have to ask yourself what you are bringing to the table, João. This is a key question. You have lawyers that are not so proactive. I am a proactive lawyer. Our firm is formed by, I'm the oldest in my firm. I'm 50 years old, João. My whole team is younger than me, okay? But it's a bench of young, okay, I was about to say a bad word, but it's a bench of great lawyers, young lawyers that challenge me all the time. We are challenging all the time, and we challenge the market. I'm a very proactive. I don't wait the phone call or phone ring to see the demand of a client. I learned this in the market. And Mr. Arsene Wenger says something very interesting, João, that applies to us and to your question. Mr. Arsene Wenger said that when he was the head coach or manager, call as you wish, as you like it, in Arsenal, he made a research with a Norwegian university in which he said that the most skilled and special players were those that scan the game 10 times before touch the ball. If you see Messi, there is a very interesting interview of Barcelona and Guardiola, and they focus Messi without the ball during the game. He's always moving his head. He's scanning the entire pitch. So special players like Neymar, like Cristiano, like Messi, they scan the entire pitch 10 times before they receive the ball. Meaning, when they receive the ball, they know exactly what to do. Where are the space? Where is the striker? Where is the defense? This is a special player. Let's take this as a lesson for lawyers. Scan the market. See what you can deliver beyond rules and regulations. Be part of it. Be active. Bring something to the table. Because if you are not on the table, you are in the menu. So be on the table. Bring something. Scan the game. Scan the industry. Scan the needs of your clients before you receive the case, the ball, or the transfer. That's what I do. So as Neymar father says, when Marcos call, or is money, or problem, or solution, I have to answer.
Okay, got that, understood. Listen, there's some people enjoying the talk. So Leonardo Herrero says, we need to be prepared to face sports issues, and those issues demand a much wider knowledge than just sports law. So listen. That's
it, man. You got it. You got it.
Gabriel Liberati says genius.
Obrigado, amigo. Maybe he's my friend.
Yeah, there's a question here by Amanda Ramos. Her name doesn't show up, but I can see here on LinkedIn. So what is the noticeable difference from 20 years ago in laws? Knowing that data and digitalization are new, what's the most difficult to discuss in commercial rights? Are you sometimes trying to think of new laws? Is there something in special that needs to do or to be better?
Great question, João. Let me take the part that I mentioned as Mark Zuckerberg and his beautiful metaverse and our own metaverse. I said you were in Seville, I think, or I said that in Lisbon when you were there with me, João. Yeah. In the past, the rules, the regulations, the governing bodies, they were the operational system of our industry. We were one of that applications that are waiting to be updated when your iOS 15 update during the night. But now, governing bodies, rules, regulations, us, we are all applications demanding an update. Otherwise, in the new update of the system, we will not run. And do you know who is the operational system nowadays? The market, accelerated by Web3. And it's our job to be updated all the time. Otherwise, we're going to be useless in the dynamic of the new industry. That's not what I think. It is what it is. You, in your question, you answer me. You answer yourself. You talked about data. You talked about a broadcasting paradigm, expansion models, monetization 365, innovation. Don't be scared about innovation. The other day I was giving a lecture to the licensee for head coaches, and they say, Marcos, this Y-Scout, all this digital and innovation scouting is killing us. I say, no. Innovation is not killing us unless it's a systemic innovation. Marcos, what is systemic innovation? Henry Ford, when he invented cars, right? From horse to cars. This is a systemic innovation. But in our industry, innovation, João, serves for only one thing. Take a note. To aggregate value to our service. Nothing else. They will not replace us. Robots will not replace us. They aggregate value to our service. So let them in. Use it. Learn how to use it. Because the market needs. The market is under a transformation. And you need it. Use it.
Good. Well, let's continue on that topic then, because don't know if you already answered. You probably answered that question many times. I don't know, or I don't know if there's an answer for that yet. But talking about innovation and about blockchain and now these tokens and how people sort of are investing, and then there are the regulations of TPO, of third party ownership, that would prevent others from outside the clubs to own sort of players. Is that being used as a way of TPO? Is it not? So how is that viewed by the legal community at the moment?
João,
or maybe even if you could actually explain even better what I'm talking about to
sure. Listen, this goes a little bit, as I said, about Web 1, 2, and 3, right? In Web 1, you receive the information from the internet. Web 2, you receive and you share information with the internet. It was the Web 2 very important, as I said, the funds, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, right? All these, let's say, data holders. You don't hold your data. They are the intermediaries in the data stream, in the B2C, the business to consumer relationship. They were in the middle through the algorithms, controlling all the data that is flowing all over the world all the time, right? Through the social media, when you buy something, everything. Now Web 3 or Cycle 3, boosted by blockchain and tokens, in which you retake control over your own content. You don't need it. That's a decentralized. You see in the finance, João, the DeFi low touch. So it's the decentralized finance, the low touch, the low friction. These three principles applies to everything. You have a low friction maybe with governing bodies. You have maybe a decentralized regulations in terms of governing bodies and rules. So this is the cycle 3. Then you mentioned the TPO. I was a member, as you said, of the TPO working group that banned, I was against, but bans the TPO. I'm now under discussion with the new agents regulations, right? That they are discussing widely, the cap of the commissions. I ask you, in the Web3, what is a player's remuneration in which you want to cap the agent's commission? Please, someone define for me what is a player's remuneration in the Web3. Last week, I was doing a contract based part in salary, part in image, part in performance, and part in tokens. So how are we going to calculate the benefit of an agent? What is a salary in 2021 in the next 10, 20 years? You can't define. So we have the risk that the new agents regulations, they will apply, but they will not enforce because it's going to be dated. TPO, tokens. Maybe some of you already bought tokens for your club, NFTs from your preferable player or or a celebrity whatsoever. Token, and we see PSG announcing fan token, Arsenal, Flamengo, Chelsea, Manchester. Everyone is announcing tokens. FIFA probably very soon will be announcing their own NFTs tokens because they are the right holders, right? So please, someone define me what is a token. Token is 100% about influence. Because when you buy a token, you have an influence in the decisions of who issued the tokens. That's the beauty of the NFT, the tokens, and all blockchain technology. You interact directly. You have a directly influence in the business practices. So what about TPO? How we can talk about influence, how we can talk about ownership in the cycle 3 of our industry and in the blockchain technology? I don't have an answer. I'm just here provoked by João, well provoked, and now we are provoking you. So answer me. Number one, what is a player's remuneration in terms of the new Web3 and cycle 3? And what is ownership and influence in the Web3 and cycle 3 blockchain and tokenomics? That's it. You muted. You muted.
Sorry, I have a train that passes here every now and then, so I mute myself. But
I have my cat here. I'm afraid that he will know this camera here. He loves this camera. My cat is running here.
I was saying that great questions, but I won't try to answer right now. We're actually sort of approaching sort of the hour. I do have a few more questions if you're okay with that.
Go ahead. You have more. Let's say 5 minutes. I'm okay because I have to jump in on another meeting, but I'm enjoying pretty much. Let's do it.
No, very, very quickly. So we're going to go away from legal matters now very easily. So we've been working sport for many times. You met many of your idols. You've been to many finals. I just want to know what's your favorite sporting moment.
Sport, you mean competition, play? What do you mean?
Your favorite moment in sport.
Listen, you know that I miss pretty much my time when I was only a supporter, João. When my father used to bring me to Maracanã Stadium in the 80s to see Zico playing for Flamengo in the stadium with 120,000 people that we could not even sit. We had to be standing because there was no place to sit. There was no chairs. So more than 125 people in Maracanã Stadium in that pretty hot afternoons in Rio de Janeiro when I got the bus to go to the stadium with my father and my brother. My father passed, my late father, Mauro, and my brother, Mauro, as well. I was just like, 11, 10 years old, 9 years old, 8 years old. I miss that moment pretty much. That really warm afternoons in Rio, sun is shining, the supporter, the screens, the Flamengo coming to the pitch, the goal, we celebrating. I miss that moment. I mean, it was more romantic. I could say that nowadays when I'm, let's say, in the backstage of the industry. But not less exciting, but different.
No, I totally understand. I can relate a lot to that as well. You had many more moments than me, but once I talked to your good friend Leonardo, and I had a chance to ask him what was his favorite memory and playing football. I was going to think that it was going to say the World Cup, and he said no. It was the first that first season with Flamengo. I think when they won, he was a kid and playing with Zico, so it was just at the start. So yeah,
Leonardo is a great friend, a top man. I learned, one of the most a period that I learned very much, João. It was when Thiago Silva was transferred from Fluminense to Milan, AC Milan, and then when he was transferred to AC Milan to Paris Saint-Germain. And I lived pretty much Milan in that period with Galliani. For me, they are the two greatest in the old generation. Galliani, for me, the greatest football director, and now Marina Granovskaya, from Chelsea, my friend, an amazing woman. I mean, a truly leader. But that moment, that period in Milan, I learned very much. Work with Braida, work with Galliani, work with Leonardo, the negotiations in and out of Thiago Silva. That was a very special moment in my career, I have to mention.
That's great. Last one, Mark, just before I go to last one, a few more comments. Amanda here saying that what a career. It's mind-blowing. Othello James, I appreciate for sharing that with us. I'm a young manager for artists and athletes. I'll invite you to lecture in Liberia.
A pleasure. It's going to be a pleasure.
You must share your fountain of knowledge on this side of the world.
My pleasure.
Marco, I know you have to go very quickly. I'll do two in one. One is the first one. What advice that you gave many, but maybe to summarize, what advice you give to someone that's who wants to have a similar type of role that you have, and then you can also think of a book to recommend. I always ask our guests here to recommend a book to our audience. So
okay. Very good.
That an advice and then a book that you can recommend.
Listen, I think that an advice is that this advice serves to professionals, organizations, governing bodies, right holders, actually serves to everyone. Focus is in the product. Okay? When I start my career, I try to build and to wrap, let's say, a product to offer in the market. So always ask yourself, what I'm bringing to the table, as I said, what I'm selling, what the market needs. Am I a remedy? Am I a solution? Am I an important pillar? Am I bringing something to add to the market? Because I can guarantee you there are a lot of pain in the market. There are a lot of needs in the market. There is a truly demand in the market. So the question is always what I'm bringing as a solution, what I'm bringing as a remedy, what I'm bringing to add value, aggregate value to the industry. If you have this answer, you are in the right track. And I can guarantee you that every single person, irrespective in your position, who you are, where you are, has something to bring, has something to deliver. Because the key word is to deliver. Okay? So this is my tip of advice. Books. I love biographies. Not only the biographies for those that succeed, but the biographies that for those that failed. We have always the mentality to be prepared to win, but failure is in the corner. You have to prepare yourself to fail. We are always focused in you winning, but failure is mandatory in the journey of a professional. It's about winning. It's about losing. And this taste, the sweet taste, or the champagne room, as Jack Welch say, everyone wants to be in the champagne room, right? The winner's locker room. But the game is about winners and losers. Everyone wants to win, but you have to be prepared also for, the time that you're going to fail, the time that things will not work as you were planning. So be prepared for that moment. So read biographies. Incredibly speaking, I love the biography of João Avelange, the biography of Sir Alex Ferguson, great lessons, and also philosophy. Read Byung-Chul Han. It's about our world of communication, technology, the hierarchy of communication. Here, we don't have a barrel of communication, right? I have João moderating, but we are directly, right? So this flow of communication in our world is pretty important to understand and to master how to speak, how to communicate. So Byung-Chul Han, a Korean philosopher. Alain de Botton, anxiety status. Is a lot of our industry, right? Status, lights, interviews, famous, success, money. So status, anxiety, Alain de Botton. So biographies and a little bit of philosophy and sociology works pretty well to understand, or to try to understand a little bit better our environment.
Great, Michael. Listen, we couldn't have finished our season better than having you here with us. I think it was excellent. I want to thank everybody all over the world, as you could see.
Amazing.
From Trinidad and Tobago to Liberia to all over. Fantastic, as you said. And I want to thank everybody that has been here with us also during the season. There's some people here, Marcos, that I don't know in person, but I already recognize because they keep coming. That's great. And yeah, so we're going to be back with live interviews early next year.
You have to do one in person, to put all these people together in a room and let's talk, let's discuss.
Wow, we're very looking forward to going back to in-person events. Actually, we will have the I Work in Sport job fair back in May next year. Amazing. So hopefully in person again. So we're looking forward to that. Marco, I'm just going to say bye. I'm going to end this. Stay there for another.
Definitely. Thank you so much all for your audience participation. What a great time here with you guys. Take care. Enjoy. Everything's going to be all right. I promise you.
Yeah. Thanks, Marcos. Thanks, everyone. See you very soon.